And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, and the name of the second river is Gihon, and the name of the third river is Tigris. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden, to dress it and to keep it.
When they found the ruins of Sumerian dams on this barren land, several kilometres from the rivers, 19th century archaeologists faced an enigma. How had people lived in this desert, so far from the source of water? The desert city of Nippur, 250 kilometres south of Baghdad. The ruins of a temple rise above the dunes. It was during excavations of this site that archaeologists found the key to the enigma. This clay tablet is a map of Nippur. It shows the exact locations of the temple and the city wall. The Euphrates ran to the west of the wall. It had been diverted to supply the city with water. The cities had therefore been built beside the water. But changes in landform and the sheer force of the floodwaters changed the course of the rivers. Satellite images help us reconstruct the map of this part of the world as it was 5,000 years ago. Nippur, Uruk, Gisu and Ur, the main cities of the Sumerian civilization, evolved in a vastly different landscape. At that time, the Tigris and the Euphrates ran through much of Mesopotamia as a single river. They separated only downstream from Nippur.
And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, and the name of the second river is Gihon, and the name of the third river is Tigris. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted, and became into 4 heads. The name of the first is Pison, and the name of the second river is Gihon, and the name of the third river is Tigris. That is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the 4th river is Euphrates. And the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden.
Zarins began to wonder about the origins of one story in particular, the tale of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. He wondered whether it was one of the stories that had been borrowed from another culture. Of all the many fables in the Bible, this one seemed to be based on real events.
When people wrote something down, they're not lying to you. It's not baloney. It's just that they don't think you need scientific evidence.
Zarins was convinced that the ancient Hebrew people who wrote the Bible could not have possibly created this legend on their own. So where did it come from originally? Zarins decided to find out. His quest for the Garden of Eden had begun. His first clue came from the very word, Eden. How this word came to be in the Bible has always been something of a mystery, because it is not native to Hebrew, the original language of the Old Testament.
Eden doesn't translate literally with a Hebrew translation or any kind of Semitic translation. It's not a word that's particular to the language of the story that we're familiar with. They knew the story from somewhere else because they incorporated some of that language.
Where did the ancient Hebrews first hear this word? Zarins knew it came from an area about 800 miles to the east of the Holy Land, Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates. He also knew it dated back to the world's oldest known civilization, the first people to create an organized urban society, the Sumerians.
The Sumerians would be the earliest groups of people who settled and began to cultivate the land in the area of the Tigris-Euphrates. Sumer is the first really organized group of agricultural city-states, and they began to develop a network of interaction through their crops and their trade and using the rivers.
It was these ancient people who first used the word Eden.
It's a very, very ancient word, which the Sumerians used in a very ancient way, and it means a land of steppes or grasslands where people live kind of wild, where animals are wild.
The Sumerians used the term Eden to refer to uncultivated areas beyond their territory. In other words, the sort of place where nature was not controlled by man, but by God. If this word, Eden, came from Mesopotamia, then it seemed logical that the Garden of Eden was located there. This idea was supported by the fact that many early Bible stories have Mesopotamian roots.
If you look at the history of the biblical people, if you look at an Abraham, a biblical Abraham, he came from somewhere in that region.
For example, most people don't know that Sumer's mentioned in Genesis is called Shinar. The Tower of Babel, these are all Sumerian stories.
In fact, the first 12 chapters of the book of Genesis, up to the point where Abraham departs for Egypt, takes place in Mesopotamia.
Everything in those stories is from Mesopotamia. If you don't believe me, read it.